Over the past 10 years, seeing patients with ADHD, I have looked for patterns to see what are the focus issues really with my ADHD patients. And I have found that one adjustment. Now, how I discovered this is I do lots of lab tests and I will test, analyze, and adjust and tweak and see what is really the issues with the focus. And when I see a patient, when I'm working with them, one of the other things that I have them do is tracking their symptoms. Like, how is their focus improving or where is it dipping? All these different things I like to track with my patients to making sure are the things that we're implementing improving. And then as we're tracking it with lab tests, is there a correlation between this? And so another thing that I always have my patients do is when we implement their treatment, I'm also wanting them to track the foods that they're consuming of the treatment plan that I'm giving them to seeing, are they being consistent with it? Is there improvements with their symptoms? And then on top of that, they're also journaling and tracking their focus and energy throughout the day to see where there might be some patterns there. And the thing that I noticed is that people with ADHD, myself included, where I have ADHD as well, is that we might not be so consistent with eating consistent meals like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We might skip meals. And then sometimes our diet might not be the best. And that's what I found with a lot of my patients is there was so much inconsistency, but I started noticing some patterns where they weren't so consistent with the foods. That is where we would start seeing focus and energy issues being a problem. And so I started to add another measurement and had them start measuring their glucose levels throughout the day to see, okay, where is their glucose levels possibly spiking or dipping? And is there a correlation with their focus and energy issues because of their sugar levels? And sure enough, there was definitely a drastic correlation. Whenever I would see my patients' blood sugar levels spike and then drastically dip, that's when their focus and energy would typically dip in that part of the day. And so I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to adjust this? So I started tweaking and making adjustments into their diet, making there's more consistency, and also getting rid of certain foods that was possibly spiking their blood sugar levels. And by doing so, this helps stabilize their focus and their energy throughout the day. So here's the trick. As far as when it comes to if you are suspecting that this possibly could be an issue, I see this probably about 80% of the time as the issue to improving focus. But these are exact steps to do this. So first off, you need to start tracking your foods every single day. And this is very important because you need to know what foods you're consuming to actually knowing what's spiking your blood sugar levels. And then along with that, you need to also be tracking your focus and energy throughout the day. Like you need to track that because we need to see if there's a pattern and correlation. If the foods that you're consuming is spiking the blood sugar levels, but also is it impacting your focus and energy as well? So you definitely need to be measuring your glucose throughout the day, at least 1 to 3 times a day. And you need to be doing it at least 2 to 3 hours after you eat. So yes, you could do a finger prick. That could be really tedious, but you can get a CGM, a continuous glucose meter, and those patches that you can just put on. That way you could do several readings each day. And make sure you want to do it about 2 to 3 hours after eating, because that is what can tell you if your blood sugar levels are way off, if the insulin is kicking in like it needs to store the glucose like it's supposed to, or is there an insulin resistance issue, which typically what is the problem is there becomes over time insulin resistance, and therefore you are not using the sugar consistently like it needs to, because the brain does need glucose, the body needs glucose for energy, but it needs to be consistent and not having these spikes and dips causing this inconsistency with your focus and energy. And so the reading that you want to be at of your sugar levels should be between 90 to 99, 2 to 3 hours after eating. If it's above that, then you know there's a problem. If it's below that, then you know it's a problem as well. Then once you have done that data and done the journaling and looked at all the different foods and look at all the blood sugar readings and also your energy and your focus and looked at all those 3 things, see if there's actually patterns. See if there's a correlation with the foods that you're consuming that are spiking your blood sugar levels, and then your blood sugar levels are dipping. Is also your focus and energy also dipping at around that time? So if that's the case, this is how you make adjustments effectively to help improve your focus. So as you have looked at this correlation, you're taking note, when are the spikes and when are the dips? And are they correlated with the focus and energy issues? Then you're looking at, okay, what food was I consuming before this spike and this dip? And then you start eliminating those particular foods to see if that improves. So you still want to track even after this. Is it improving and stabilizing your blood sugar levels? And then more importantly, is it improving the focus and energy issues as well? Now, if you're still not able to stabilize it, another thing you should do additionally is also, were you eating any protein beforehand? Or were you eating just a little bit or none at all? And if that's the case, start incorporating more protein consistently and increasing your protein intake and see if that stabilizes the blood sugar levels, also improves focus and energy during those times. Now, like I said, measuring glucose is only one thing, and this applies about 80% of the time that can really help improve your focus, but there are so many other labs that could be contributing to your ADHD symptoms. And so you should grab my free ADHD lab protocol for adults, and that's in the description below, and goes over all the labs that I recommend for adults with ADHD. So grab that in the description below. Okay, so if you are still having issues after making those adjustments and not able to stabilize your blood sugar levels, you're probably dealing with a severe insulin resistance issue, or you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, and so therefore you have to tackle this a little bit more aggressively. Now, of course, if you are diabetic, you definitely want to talk to your doctor first before you implement any of these things I'm going to recommend. But one of the most effective ways that I've seen to tackle insulin resistance is intermittent fasting. Now, there's different intermittent fasting styles. The ones that I've found most effective is not necessarily the 16-8. Like, that can help, especially if you are someone that consumes a lot of food and eats 12 hours out of the day, and just narrowing that down to an 8-hour eating window, you definitely can see improvements from that. But if you've already been doing that, then maybe that might not be enough. So what I recommend is you start doing longer fasts, like 24 to 36 hour fast. Do those once a week. And then if you really want to take aggressively, one of the most effective ways that I've seen to reverse diabetes as well as insulin resistance quickly is doing alternate day fasting. And so that's where you're doing 24 to 36 hour fast every other day. And this will tackle it fast. In fact, there's a lot of research on this that is probably one of the most effective ways for not only reversing type 2 diabetes, but also high blood pressure and other cardiovascular issues. Now, another effective tools that you should be implementing is definitely exercise and good nutrition. That's obvious, but exercise can help with also tackling insulin resistance. Also, getting a good night's sleep, because if your sleep is really off, this can also spike blood sugar levels and cause insulin resistant issues. And then a really important one too is to not be eating snacks late at night. This can contribute to the issue. And then not eating enough protein, like I said before, those are all vital things that can help stabilizing your blood sugar, but also tackling the insulin resistance issue. This is a very effective adjustment that I've used with all my patients, and it's been really effective for about 80% of the patients I'm working with to help with their focus issues. But like I said before, there are several other different labs that it could be contributing to your focus issues. So you should watch this video next, where we talk about the critical labs that every ADHD person should get. So watch this video next.